Thank you, Emma. I spent most of my professional life in the academia, doing research and teaching. And for all my sins, I must have had this picture in mind that I'm doing research, therefore I'm doing something useful, because eventually it will affect practice. After all, this is really not theoretical research that we are doing, it's applied research. That's the only objective of this kind of research. And late in my life, I started questioning this paradigm when I realized that when I'm teaching my students, I'm basically teaching various geometric design standards for civil engineers. Gita, where is Gita? Gita and I are of the same tribe of civil engineers who teach transportation, who then teach traffic engineering, variants. And I started realizing that there is really very little safety content in what I'm teaching. So I started looking into the safety content. And when I'm teaching this to graduating engineers, I'm not teaching safety. These people graduate from a university, start working, have no idea what the safety repercussions are of what they have been taught. And when they are in practice, they have no opportunity to learn about the safety repercussions because they are working by the standards that have been adopted, which seem to be lacking in safety content. So I started to think perhaps we are like these two silos, that we researchers produce our research and get our publications and advance in academia, but perhaps the link to practice is rather weak, just this narrow bridge perhaps across the top. And as I aged, I realized that there is more and more safety research published, more conferences, more journals. When I started, I think I read most of what was relevant to me. There is no way I can read the safety research that is being published, because that's just too much. And my question is, how much of what is being published actually has some effect on practice? Where are we on this scale between little is affecting practice and lots is affecting practice? So I will try to argue in the paper, and my paper is terribly long. I think you have it on this disk. Dinesh, is it?
Yeah.
It's on the disk, okay. So really my objective in this presentation is to try to get you interested in reading the paper, and I will just tell stories and you can stop me anytime you wish. So my experience is North American experience, and it is limited. I'm not in this club of global road safety. I'm in this ants perspective of road design and traffic engineering, and how does it affect people's life and limb. I find that we have findings and they are disregarded often by other interests. I find that the body of knowledge that we produce is polluted, somewhat similar to what Matthew was speaking about. It's very difficult to find the core in this vast literature which gives us real guidance rather than just unreliable guidance. And I find that in North America this research function is really unplanned. It's something that materializes. I was born into it, I continued it, but it was not unplanned. You know, this is what we have to research, this is how it ought to affect practice. that is a very unstructured environment. I'm uneasy about it. I'll give you a few examples of my uneasiness. There is a publication called the Highway Safety Manual. After geometric design standards were published in 1940, and nobody ever published the safety consequences of making lanes 3.6 meters or 3.75 meters. Urban, you were pointing it out. Finally, 3 or 4 years ago, we published the Highway Safety Manual, which tries to provide the information about the safety consequences of engineering decisions. And one of these tables tells you that if you apply raised pavement markers to the edge of the road, if oops, wrong button. You will see a CMF there. It's a crash modification factor. If it's a number larger than 1, then what you are doing does damage, increases accidents. If it's a number less than 1, then it's helpful. It reduces crashes. So you will see, if you by the findings of research in this Highway Safety Manual, if you apply raised pavement markers to a curve with a radius less than, about 500 meters, then you increase crashes. People go through that curve faster. But the FHWA in 2013 gave a prize to Alabama for installing raised pavement markers on curves. So there you have research, probably good research study, but practice just doesn't follow. People should know better. For some reason, don't. So, trying to find the right button. So, opinion trumps evidence. It has nothing to do with President Trump. It beats evidence. And there is lots made about engineering judgment. Now, there is very little judgment that any person of experience can have about the safety effect of something. It takes randomized controlled research to find out, just as it is in trauma care. But if you go to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, published by the Federal Highway Administration, a national standard for all US, you will find engineering judgment in about 120 places of the manual on issues about which a person can have no judgment. And so, Louisiana Department of Transport and Development, their staff is intuitively convinced that raised pavement markers reduce accidents. And this is why they install these devices on all Louisiana highways. And then here is another quote from another research project. After the Highway Safety Manual was published and after the results were made available in a National Cooperative Highway Research Program report, Iowa and Pennsylvania and Michigan said that they do not plan to adopt this. They are not going to change their policy because opinion in our tribe trumps evidence. Here is what Richard Feynman said after the shuttle disaster. Richard Feynman was a famous physicist, and he was on the shuttle inquiry, and he holds the O-ring there in the picture, which caused the shuttle to explode. And he says, when I hear the words engineering judgment, I know that they are just going to make up numbers. I have a series of slides about my uneasiness. I just showed you about the raised pavement markers. But this is, I still tend to use my bicycle when I go and buy a carton of milk. And here you see a right turning lane and a bike lane, and every right turning vehicle has to go across that bike lane. And I was curious, I felt really unsafe on this bike lane. So I looked, where does it come from, this design? This design was incorporated in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices around 1970. It was made a national standard without any investigation. It remains a national standard without any without any investigation. If you have an exploding airbag, people know which vehicles they are installing. This is not known. Nobody has any idea how many such intersections are in North America, how many crashes are at such intersections. Why is it, Brian, when we invent NHTSA, they regulate private industry, they are good at it. Why is it that when states, state I mean, not as US state, but the state, the country, federal government, a municipal government, the state has monopoly on the production and operation of roads. But the state cannot regulate itself. NHTSA can regulate the automotive industry. Quod custodiat ipsos custodius. Who is regulating the regulators? The inefficiency of the safety delivery on roads is the function of the state being unable to regulate itself. So I will try to get to my last slide. I think what there is an adoption of road user rights. What we do as engineers affects the safety of road users. They have rights. And I think their right is to expect that we do our job on the basis of evidence, not on the basis of opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.